Don't the weeks fly by? 1 minute it's Monday, and before you know it, Sunday's here again, and it's time for more video games and consoles from the loft. Well, welcome to part 5, and today I have 2 more items from my collection to show you, and both are fond memories of growing up with video games. One's an LCD tabletop gunfighting game, and the other is my favourite of all, the first games console that I ever played on. But first, I'm going to start with this, CGL's tabletop LCD game, Gunfighters. Now CGL, otherwise known as the Computer Game Limited Company, are no longer around, but as far as I know, mainly operated during the 1980s, selling many games like this one, and one console at least, called the Sword M5. Now all these games were imported from other companies, like Tomy and Sword, and then sold by CGL, just like Grandstand used to do from my other episodes. Now, I have no idea what year this was made. It doesn't even tell you on the box. So if you have any idea, please comment and let me know. Let's take a closer look. Now, Gunfighters is a 1 and 2 player game based on cowboys set in the American Wild West. I've still got the box, which is in still pretty good condition. Inside the box itself, at either end, you have the polystyrene inserts which hold the game nice and snug and keep it nice and safe. I've still got the original instructions as well. I'll just pop them there and pop that there and place the console down itself. Now as you can see, you can use this game as a 1 and 2 player game, as you have controls at either end. So one player can sit here and one player can sit here. Both controls on either side are exactly the same, and you have a range of buttons to press as well. You have a standing position, a sitting down position and a lying down position, and then these 2 silvery buttons are your fire buttons to fire at one another during the game. At the front of the console itself you have an off position switch to turn the game off. If you move it to the left hand position, it will turn you onto a pro stage when you're playing 1 player, and if you turn it to the right hand stage you have an amateur stage. On the left hand switch here you have an auto and manual switch, which determines whether you want a 1 or 2 player game. So if you want the 1 player game, turn it to auto and your computer will play you into the manual position through that 2 player game. Let's have a look at the gameplay. So I'm going to set up a 1 player game. I'll set it to auto and I'm going to switch it to the amateur position. As I was telling you before, look, if you look at your player there, you can crouch and lie down and stand up, and then you can fire at your opponent who's across the screen there at the moment, and then you have to get out of the way quickly before your opponent hits you with his bullets. So it's quite interactive and uses a bit of skill, and you know, give you good fast reaction times to move out of the way. You get a scoring system at the top of the screen there. You get a series of points depending on how you've hit one another. The game will end after 99 points, so if you get to 99 points first you win. You both get 66 bullets to hit at one another during any one game, and a normal game will last about 6 minutes or so if you don't get to 99 points. Well, this game certainly gave me some good fun growing up over the years, but as soon as mainstream games consoles came out, these types of games that I owned were shelved. But it's nice to have in my collection to show what types of games I used to play before I received my first games console, the Spectrum 128K+2. But that wasn't the first games console I played on, because this was the Philips G7000 Videopac, aka the Magnavox Odyssey 2. Well, here it is, the Philips Videopac G7000, the Magnavox Odyssey 2, the Videopac, the Philips Odyssey, just some of the names it was known by from countries around the world. Magnavox, a company from America, released the first Odyssey in 1972 and released the Odyssey 2 in 1978. Now Philips, a Dutch company here in Europe, rebranded the game as the Philips Videopac G7000 for European marketing. They were working as a parent company with Magnavox, but it's all the same system, so let's take a closer look. Well, I'm chuffed to say I've still got it in its box, which is pretty cool. You've got a nice cheesy photo of your family having a good time. I certainly was when I first played this, that is for sure. Let's get it out and have a look at it. Still got it in its original polystyrene, which is pretty cool. At least it holds it all together. In the actual box itself, you've got your two controllers and your power supply and your aerial connector. And under this tray here is the actual console itself. I'll just line that back up for you. There, that gives you a better view. So here it is. Looks like a giant keyboard, which technically it is. It was totally unique at the time, looking like a bit of a personal computer and fooling people into buying it. But they had good intentions for the system. It's just most games only required you to use a few buttons. The keyboard was only in full use during mainly educational games, which were limited. Some games even had overlays which could be placed over the keyboard for games such as like the Musician game, which had an overlay of a keyboard piano, which would have given a great realistic interaction. There are several differences between the US and the European models. This one has no power on and off switch. I think the US one would have been about here. And the only other difference, I think, as far as I know, is the action button here. Theirs was red, this one's black. So that's the only difference there. Now the controllers themselves are actually hardwired into the back of the console, as you can see there. The actual controllers had quite good length in lead, but they could have done a little bit better. I mean, they could have put the controllers at the front of the console to give you that extra bit of length, but they weren't bad, to be honest. Apparently later models, they actually made them detachable, as these controllers were quite susceptible to be broken, and it would have made it easier to replace them, as these are hardwired. The actual games themselves, I've got one game here slotting quite easily into the top of the console deck, and then all you have to do is press one or two buttons and away you went with the game. Now this game itself is the Quest for Rings, which is actually a quite unique game, and which is one I'm actually going to be reviewing in Video Games and Consoles in episode 9. So look out for that, as I won't be reviewing any games on this today. Now the Philips Videopac, or the Magnavox Odyssey 2, certainly did very well and had quite a good long lifespan. It's just in the long run it lost out to its competitors such as Atari and other companies. But it doesn't really matter, because it certainly had some great games, and these games were my first ever experience of actually playing video games. So for that, I'm proud to actually own one right now, and I'd just like to say a special thanks to my Nan and Gramps. Thank you for introducing me to video games, because I'm certainly very proud to own one of these today. Now to own both of these, I suppose you're looking at anything from 10 to about £60, or 10 to about $60. I mean, I picked my Odyssey, or Philips Videopac as you like to say it, up for £20 here. I mean, that was incredibly cheap. I'm actually quite surprised about that, but really glad I've got one. Now I really hope you've enjoyed today, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your weekend, and I hope you'll see me next weekend for part 6 of Video Games and Consoles from the Loft. I'm Chips, and I'll see you later.